Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be for Burning Questions. It's edition number, well, there you go, little tinkle, maybe 6. I don't know. Was that the right answer? I'm not sure. I think that was coming from Svanosio. We might as well welcome you first, given your, I was going to use the term virgin, we'll say debutante to Burning Questions. How are you, Snoozer?
Yep, going good. Thanks, Jason.
Been having a little bit of trouble with the Wi-Fi there. Not as much trouble as Chris Alford had with his camera, but at least you're back on deck and you look to be, well, you're crystal clear to me anyway. And Andy, just got the clean bill of health from the doctor. You got a little bit of Botox, and I can't tell a difference personally, but as long as it makes you feel better.
Yeah, no, feeling younger and feeling younger.
And Skeeter, how are you today?
Yeah, going well, thanks, Juan.
Let's get stuck into the burning questions. And for the first time, the burning questions are brought to you not only by Hip Pocket Workwear, but also Nikkita Ross. Simply couldn't think of any good enough questions, so I handed it over to Skeet because that's what I'm capable of doing because I'm Bon. All right, the first question for Saturday night's meeting. We're at Bendigo, not at Melton as per usual. Boxofchocolates, an interesting runner in race 2 on the card. Was it a sign of the times? A little bit of Harry Styles there from Skeeter. Was it just a sign of the times during regional racing that she was going so well, or will that form stack up on Saturday night? First up from a break, we'll start with you, Andrew.
Yeah, obviously, she sort of hit the ground running when I think she won her first 6 or 7 races, and all those races were over the short. Then when the first time she went to Melton, she started favourite against horses like Sunny Weaver, another Masterpiece, Torrid Saint, really good class horses, and she started favourite, but all went wrong for her that night. I think she threw herself down in the stalls before the start, and she sort of got on the track and shot off her head a little bit. So she has trialled really good leading into this race, but it is over the long. All her wins have been over the short. She can run really fast times. Not sure she's a good race horse yet, but she has beat good horses in the past. Second row draw is going to be interesting, but I'd be risking her first up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll be risking her as well. I think the bigger problem, apart from whether regional racing was actually whether that form will stand up, Snooze, it's more to me about the fact she's never seen a second line draw, middle trip. She's probably going to have to do some work at some stage if she wants to win the race. They're the things that I think play against her. What about you?
I think like her last start where she ran 3rd or 4th over the long trip, she probably showed that she can handle that long trip, and Kent Harpley can have one pretty tuned up for a first up run. And like looking at her trial, she was finished off pretty sharp. So obviously she's lightly racing some pretty nice horses, and the second row draw's a bit tricky. But yeah, I think if she can relax and do everything right, Kent could probably have her ready to win that first up.
Well, it's a little bit of a nudge and a wink there from Snooze. He's just letting you know, don't leave her out of anything. What are you thinking, Skeeter?
Yeah, look, I think she's a really nice horse, Bon, and that was obviously her first major preparation, and she hit the ground running and recorded all those wins and went through her grades quite quickly, and there's no doubt she's a very highly strung horse. I actually spoke to Kent just before jumping on here and had a chat to him about where he thinks she's at, and he's quite happy with her. He said he was going to wait another couple of weeks, but this Good Money race is just across the road. He's obviously fairly local, so he thought he'd throw her in, and he said he's been doing quite a bit of work with her, taking her over to Bendigo and just gearing her up, ungearing her, letting her stand there, done a lot of work trying to calm her down, and he said before that trial she was really good. So hopefully she has matured and settled down a bit this time in. And look, I think she can run really well. He actually said, which I thought was really interesting, that he thinks she could be actually better with a sit, and didn't rule out if the pace is slow that the puppet might make that move, but he said he will leave that up to him. But I thought interesting, given that we have seen her lead so many times, that he thinks she potentially could be better with a sit.
How about Skeeter? We're supposed to be giving our opinions here just off the top of our heads, what we feel inside, you know? So Skeeter says, I'll call Kent Hartley and get the information. She's already done a burning questions before the burning questions. Fantastic stuff from Skeeter. Look, I think she can win the race. I think moments like these will win the race. Now we move on to you, Snooze. Brandlo Prince. Is the class drop enough to offset the shocking draw?
Hopefully it is for him. Obviously he's out of the draw through his own errors a couple of weeks ago there at Melton, but 3 starts ago he ran second to some in the free-for-all against some of our top trotters, so it's definitely a class drop for him. But yeah, from that outside the second row, Taylor's going to really have to put him into the race at the right time to be able to win that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So who's the better chance out of Brandlo Prince and Norquay?
Probably Brandlo Prince is the better horse. Like Norquay was quite good last week against our best mares, and both of them were back last in their races at Melton, a mile off the lead, and sort of worked home as good as they could. But yeah, I'd say Brandlo Prince is a bit better horse at this stage than Norquay. So yeah, he's probably good enough to make a move as long as Taylor can, do it at the right time.
I think so. There's plenty of pressure there on Taylor. So it's basically got nothing to do with the horse. It's just down to whether Taylor makes the move at the right time, Skeeter. I think he's one of the big winning chances. I think there's enough class edge between those down the bottom of the page in this race as opposed to the ones off the front row, apart from Cycloness Adams, who would make Boxofchocolates look like she's, bossing life and has got her shizzle together. But what are your thoughts on the race? Do you think Brandlo Prince can win?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he can. I think you've got to respect the drop in class. He obviously has been racing in those free-for-all ranks for such a long time, and I thought last time he should have finished a lot closer than what he did. He was sort of chopped out for a run halfway up the straight, and then obviously made that mistake prior. And even then, I thought Chrissy did a good job to finish where he did, given that mistake, which was pretty uncharacteristic of him. So I think this is the easiest field that he has faced in a little while. It's obviously some very nice horses still engaged, but given what he has been racing against, obviously that draw makes things a little bit tricky. But I think if Taylor can make a move, if they do slow things or even get a card into it, he's got a massive winning chance.
You've got Morgan Miley engaged in this race. You might not be able to see. I don't know whether the Botox will clean up enough in time for you to get your eyes open to watch it. But what are your thoughts on the race as a whole and Brandlo Prince dropping in grade? These 70 to 79s, they're funny races because you can drop down from, free-for-all level to be competing in them. It's weird with the trotters in terms of the ratings compared to the paces, Andy.
Yeah, no doubt. They're definitely a big drop down in class for Brandlo Prince. He's been out of the winner's store for his last 14 starts, but a lot of those runs against a lot better quality horses than these. The horse does go better for Taylor. Sorry, Snooze, but 2 runs this season have been better for Taylor than they have for you. So, I think he's the one to beat. There's a lot of horses in the race that have been going well, but his best is better than all these, in my opinion. And if he produces it, he's going to be the one to beat, even though he's drawn poorly.
Yeah, some of us do go better for the girls for some reason. I don't know why it is, Andy. No one can work it out, but it just seems to work that way. A word from our sponsors yet again. You might not know this, but there's more than 45 stores across Australia of Hip Pocket Workwear. They use national buying power. Hip Pocket Workwear and Safety's locally owned stores have a unique place in the safety workwear, corporate clothing and protective equipment market. From the work site to the office, hospitality, healthcare, sports uniforms, corporate wear and embroidery, Hip Pocket Workwear and Safety have you covered. So more than 45 stores, embroidery, everything you could ever want. That's Hip Pocket Workwear. They sponsor the Burning Questions. The biggest burning question of the night, and we'll start with you, Skeeter, because of your connection to the camp, is whether Western Sonador, is the boom a little bit big? Do we trust him to just turn up and win on Saturday night? I thought the price of the Open was, I love the horse, but I think $1.75 is insane. Even $1.90 now seems crazy to me.
Yeah, I thought it was too short. Just given his first up, he's trialled twice. They obviously like to trial their horses quite a lot before they race them, and he's had the 2 trials which have both been good. But I think we need to remember that he's hopefully in for a big campaign. Queensland is on the agenda. Fingers crossed that can happen. But that is the goal. So look, I don't think he's going to be screwed down and ready to go first start. I wouldn't fall off my chair if he did win, and likewise if he gets beat this Saturday night, I wouldn't either, because I don't think he's fully screwed down, as I mentioned, and ready to go. So look, hopefully he can get the job done, but there is some horses in that race that are racing in super form, so I don't think he's going to get it his own way, that's for sure.
Is he a moral leader? Because that opening price is just like, well, he's just going to drop on the top, and I'm not even sure that's an absolute certainty, Skeeter.
Well, I don't think so, because Glenn Douglas obviously drives their horses quite confidently and quite forward, and Torrid Saint has been going so well. So, look, I don't think Bex is certainly to get across Torrid Saint, that's for sure.
Andy, what are your thoughts? I would expect, knowing your style of thinking, that you would imagine that this is way too short as well, but you've surprised me before, so talk to me.
No, he's very short. Again, I'm in agreement with everyone. He's a lovely horse, and I think going forward, he's going to develop into a top class 3-4 horse. Saying that, he's won one of his last 10 starts, and he comes into this race no guaranteed lead, real price favourite against horses that are in really good form. Generally, as a rule, Stephen Beck's horses, they're a little bit underdone, and they try and get them ready for the big races, which they're going to with Queensland. So, I think he's a risk at the short price.
Is there anyone in particular you're looking at and thinking that's massive overs? Like early doors, Torrid Saint 21. I wasn't quick enough, but the 21 just seemed insane. And Seletic defeated Western Sonador last time they met in the Pure Steel. So you're still getting $18 about him.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of horses in this race in really top form and at a really good odds. Sandcastle, I know he's drawn wide, but, he just keeps winning. And obviously, Torrid Saint's getting better and better each run, even though he's had a lot of starts. He's in, rare form. So, I think there's a lot of horses that are complete overs in this race, and surely the market's got to change closer to the race, you'd reckon.
Snoozer, are we all saying the same thing? We think he's a really good horse, Western Sonador, but he's way too short in his first up assignment in such a strong race?
Yeah, I think, obviously his runs last time in, he's only lightly raced, but, to go to Newcastle and run terrific races up there against some really nice horses, he's obviously, could be competing in the very best races over the next 12 months, but there's some good free-for-all horses in that race, so it's going to be hard to win first up.
It's a hateful position the bookies have put us in here, because I think we all really like the horse. I love the horse, and I don't want to talk him down, and it hurts me to talk him down, but the price is just too bloody short. I marked him $2.50 and thought even that might be a little bit too short. If he wins, I'll be very happy. I'd prefer Seletic to win. Anyway, we move on. Will the draw differential, Andy, be enough to... Oh, well, Would You Mind and Tango Tara are only two horses in this race. We've got to talk about plenty of others, barroom banter included, whether he can improve. But I guess the question for you with regard to race 5 on the card is, how good is Tango Tara? Because we went into his first Australian run thinking, oh, he's a superstar. He'll just go straight through the grades. Then he gets beaten by Torrid Saint. We don't know how good that form is eventually. And, of course, that was a controversial race. We won't talk about that too much. His win last start was really good. Can he go on with it? Is this well within his wheelhouse still, even from the bad draw?
I think so. Again, he probably come over with too big a rap on him. He's raced some very good horses in New Zealand, but, he's finishing 4th and 5th and 6th behind them. So, when he come over, he's probably a little bit underdone and got him out of his comfort zone. The first start we had him, he's never been used out the gate. He's never led in a race before, and they went pretty solid. And again, he got beat by a horse that's in really good form that sat on his back. So he's improved a hell of a lot since then in his work at home. So I'll be able to get a lot more work into him. And I think his last win, he won with a lot of authority. He's really strong on the line. He wasn't tired on the line. He sort of won quite easily. So, the draws against us. Would You Mind's, progressive horse can all the time, but I'm not sure Barrier 1's a good draw for him. They can't really push him out the gate and can go a little bit rough. But yeah, he's not the only horse in the race we've got to contend with. Obviously, Jimmy the Irishman, Barroom Banter, it's still a pretty strong field, but I'm confident that my horse going forward is probably going to be the one that's going to, have the better career.
Yeah, tell us this, because there's no real obvious enforcer or breeze horse. Will Tango Tara take up that role if there's no speed at the top end?
Well, generally speaking, Kate drives most of our horses, tempo related, and, we think even most of his life he's been driven, set sprint, but he sort of showed last week he's got a fair amount of toughness too when he sat wide the last lap in a really fast last half. So if opportunity arises and they slacken off, he'll be put into the race.
Yeah, I've got the letter C, which means chair next to Tango Tara in my form. I think he's going to have to make that move. What are your thoughts here, Snooze? I mean, Tango Tara is obviously a really nice horse, but Bendigo better than anybody, and being up on the speed and being on the pegs, it's pretty bloody important.
Well, it's pretty important every track, I think, but he probably settles down close enough that he can make the move around when he has to the breeze if it's there, if the pace slackens off a bit, and if he does, he probably just can control the race. So it's not an easy race, but it should work out all right for him, I think.
If you had to have shares in one horse for that race out of Would You Mind and Tango Tara, I know there's plenty of others, who would it be?
I think Tango Tara.
There you go. You know what? Andy was even nice enough when I asked you that question that you could have said, Would You Mind? And he wasn't on the screen. So he said, I'll solve myself. I'll take myself out of the picture for a moment. Skeet, what are your thoughts here? I'm pretty keen personally. I don't disagree with Andy that Tango Tara is going to be the best horse going forward out of the race, but I just think the way the race is going to set up, that Would You Mind's the one to beat for me.
Yeah, I agree, Bon, but if you had to ask me the same question last week, I probably would have had a much different opinion. But seeing Tango Tara win like he did with the authority that he did on Saturday night was really impressive. And also Kate, speaking to her on Trot's Vision after the race, she mentioned, just like Andy did, that the horse had improved so much since that first up run. And I think we are now seeing the real Tango Tara, and we saw that on Saturday night. So I mentioned to you as I was doing the form that I thought it was a tricky race. I don't think Would You Mind just wins. And as Andy mentioned as well, he has been a little bit hit and miss out of the gate. Sometimes he can go a little bit rough and do things wrong. So I don't think they'll want to just fire him out. They'll obviously want to send him out and keep him pacing and well balanced. So a huge amount of respect for Tango Tara, and I don't think Would You Mind just gets it all his own way.
No, they're not the only horses in the race. As mentioned, Mongiana and Valachi went massive last up. Barra and Bandit can improve. Jemson's Pet, I'm No Pumpkin with the right run. It's going to be a great race. I'll tell you who's been a bit hit and miss with their best bets. Me. And I'd say more misses than hits on Burning Questions so far, but I like this meeting. I think that I've found one, but we'll start with you, Snoozer. Have your own runners or anything across the card that you'd be labelling as your best or best value?
It's pretty tough. Probably Brandlo Prince. Hopefully he can get the job done.
Well, I did tip him last week and he didn't win, so he's probably a dead set stinking moral now to win on Saturday night. Snoozes is Brandlo Prince. What about you, Andrew?
Well, again, don't tip him one of my own. Someone, the form analyst, marked at $51 in the paper, but Majestic Courtney should have a 1 next to his name last start. Young kid who drove it last start, drove it straight into my stablemate's wheel when it was going to win. So thanks, Puppet. But yeah, no, he's going really well. He's improved a lot since his first up run, and I think from the barrier draw, he's a terrific each way chance.
He leads?
He's quick enough to lead. There's no doubt about that.
I didn't ask him whether he was quick enough to lead. I said, will he lead?
Well, probably will. I don't know. I haven't done the form on these race yet. I've just done on these other.
Well, I don't think he's going to pay $51 based on that. There's some pretty smart horses wide on the second row. Who's your best of the night, Skeeter?
Watch Majestic Courtney's price crunch in on the back of that. Look, I'm going. I haven't had a whole lot of luck here either with my best bets. Key Anglebana just went down last weekend, but I'm going with a little bit of value on an each way basis. I haven't got the horse on top, but I think he can run top three, potentially at a bit of a price, and that's Aussie Battler over the mile. He should lead, and there might be a couple that can just get over the top of him late, but I think he's going to be in front for a long, long way. So race 6, Aussie Battler each way.
Finally, we're going head-to-head, Skeeter. Finally, we get to work this is allowed, okay? I'm going with Hull in the end as my best of the night. I know he steps up from winning a $10,000 race last weekend, but Aussie Battler, we saw this at Melton going back 5-6 weeks. He went 51.9 and was only beaten 10 metres. I think he'll run along at the home track, and I reckon Hull in the end will just stalk him every step of the way. Just quickly with everyone in that race, will Struve follow through from inside the second row if the emergency comes out, or be driven more aggressively? I sense he'll probably just follow through, Skeeter.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be in a pretty good position, and over the mile, they'll just want to stick to the pegs, I'm guessing.
Andy?
Yeah, he'll just follow through, I would say.
You can either disagree and really make life hard for yourself here, Snoozer, or just concur with the rest of us.
No, over the short trip, they'll be sticking to the pegs. I'm looking to get him to relax, hopefully, there.
That's excellent news. Hull in the end's an absolute moral. Can't be beaten. Somebody else will host the show next week if he gets rolled. Well done to everyone involved. Thanks very much, Andy.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Skate. Thanks, Snooze.
Put some ice on that when you get home around the facial region. Well done, Snooze and mate, and good job getting the Wi-Fi sorted.
Thank you.
You look about 7'3" in that picture for some reason, and well done, Skeeter, as well.
Thanks, Bon.
This has been Burning Questions, the latest edition, sponsored by Hip Pocket Workwear. Make sure you get involved. Saturday night, Bendigo. I'll be on Trot's Vision with Kirsten Graham, and hopefully we can find some more winners on top of Hull in the end.